This is the first part of a 3-part series on truth, at least on an aspect of truth, and kind of a call to make a personal decision for oneself. Fittingly, this first part is titled A Choice. May each of God's people choose who they will serve and choose rightly. There are many influences, many reasons for choosing wrongly, always, but these are not excuses for God's people. The choice is still before us, and more often than not, we possess the knowledge to know which way to go. We know better. Some simply relent to the influences. How truly devoted are we? At what price can our devotion be bought? Jesus' devotion was unto death, and really, he calls his own to the same. Not always a physical death in service to him, though that is not off the table, but always a death to the flesh, the self-will, the old nature, the carnal man. Then Jesus said to the disciples, "If anyone wants to be a follower of mine, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For anyone who keeps his life for himself shall lose it, and anyone who loses his life for me shall find it again. What profit is there if you gain the whole world and lose eternal life? What can be compared to the value of eternal life? For I, the Son of Mankind, shall come with my angels in the glory of my Father, and judge each person according to his deeds. And some of you standing right here now will certainly live to see me coming in my kingdom." This is not for some Christians, but all Christians, and really all people if they so choose. Notice the "if" in verse 24. If anyone wants to be a follower, which denotes choice. This year, even now, let there be true, unyielding devotion, a being finished with the halfway, and instead, true commitment, not playing with the old stuff anymore. Are God's people finished with that yet? What is so attractive about the unregenerate, the carnal? Let me say this, then, speaking for the Lord. Live no longer as the unsaved do, for they are blinded and confused. Their closed hearts are full of darkness. They are far away from the life of God, because they have shut their minds against him, and they cannot understand his ways. They don't care anymore about right and wrong, and have given themselves over to impure ways. They stop at nothing, being driven by their evil minds and reckless lusts. But that isn't the way Christ taught you. If you have really heard his voice and learned from him the truths concerning himself, then throw off your old evil nature, the old you that was a partner in your evil ways, rotten through and through, full of lust and sham. Now your attitudes and thoughts must all be constantly changing for the better. Yes, you must be a new and different person, holy and good. Clothe yourself with this new nature. There is life available, true life, not just a temporal one. The temporal one is cheap in comparison, like the cheapest of cheap shoes. And do God's people want to walk in that? Why, when he's made available to us so much more, so much better? Why? Because the flesh likes to be fed and coddled, because comfort is their king, and they do not want to deny themselves, particularly in those tender places. It is a choice that each of God's people make, and God didn't say they must. He said if. The choice is up to each of us. In the end, we can have a fat and satisfied flesh that will perish anyway, and that will have cost us dearly in the end, or a dead and crucified flesh, which gained us and others much in God's kingdom. Satisfy the flesh or put it to death. God leaves the choice to his own to make, and there are results to this choice. I don't have to tell you, you already know which choice God desires his own to make, but he does not force. There is free will, and he values free will to the point where people can choose life or death. There is a choice, that's all. God is most willing to do his part. He wants to, but he does not force a person to choose him, to choose what is good or right. Speaking to Christians, may we be done, finished with the cheap playthings the world and the devil offer to titillate and satisfy our flesh. May we finally be done with that and turn to God in true devotion, pure commitment. May it finally be so. How many more years do we need to play around before we finally start living? How many more years do we need to waste? Let this end now. So that is the message. It is a little bit shorter of a message this time. I expect all 3 parts of this series to be on the shorter side. The message itself that I wrote out is on the shorter side, but if I talk like this more freely after the message, it might get longer. But I don't know if I'll talk like this in all 3 parts, but yes, it is a choice who you will serve. That's, I think, one thing that everybody has in common, their choice of who they will serve. And in effect, if they are choosing life or death, I find it interesting that God, though he is all-powerful, does not force people to choose what they want to choose. There are results to the choice that each of us make, but it's still our choice, which way we want to go. I find that interesting that God, though he has the ability to force, he doesn't. Sometimes I think about that part in the Bible. I might be wrong, but I believe it was when I think a rich man was asking Jesus how to get to heaven or something. And Jesus told him something along the lines of sell everything you have. And then I guess he wasn't thrilled about that answer, and he kind of walked away from Jesus. And Jesus watched him go. Do you remember this? Hopefully I'm remembering that correctly. But I remember that because I remember the part where Jesus watched him go. I don't recall Jesus running after him, trying to convince him or like get him to choose the right way. He answered the guy's question and let him choose. And I think there's some wisdom in that. What is the wisdom in that? The wisdom in that, I think, is not to, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, not to wear myself out trying to convince people when, as I said, I think a lot of Christians already know better. I think a lot of Christians, not all, I think a lot already know better. They possess the knowledge to know what to choose and which way to go. And I don't need to wear myself out trying to convince them. of much of anything in terms of who they choose to serve, who they will choose to love and follow in their life, themselves or God. So I guess what I'm saying is it is a choice that each of us make. People are going to make whatever choice they want to make. I don't think it's going to, when it comes down to it, I don't think it's has very much to do with me and how much I argue a point. It is good to speak the truth and teach and preach and help people where they need help, but I don't think I need to wear myself out trying to convince people who already possess the knowledge to know what is right and what is wrong. And so it is up for each of us to choose. I think we already know, a lot of us already know what is right and what is wrong. It's just a matter of what choice we make. And I hope that each of us makes the right choice sooner than later. Are we waiting for something? Are we waiting for something before making the right choice? Are we waiting to have fun first for a while and then we'll get serious about living rightly when we're older and we already had our fun with sin? What are we waiting for? Is my question. And I don't have the answer. I mean, I don't know why exactly. Why the delay? Yes, I don't have an exact answer, but I mean, I could guess. I could guess that it's because of the flesh that wants its own way and doesn't want to die. We're supposed to put to death our flesh, but it doesn't want to die. It dies hard. It dies very hard. It will struggle to get that last breath in, and I think it's because of that can slow down full commitment to the Lord, as well as all kinds of other things like fear of rejection, fear of losing a paycheck, fear of losing the approval of people. All kinds of things I think can assist in delaying fuller and truer commitment and devotion to God in one's life. Even so, as I said, there are reasons, there are influences, there are, what did I say? I said there are many influences and many reasons for choosing wrongly, always. I don't know that will ever change. It's just despite the influences, despite the reasons for choosing wrongly, despite that, we should choose rightly. That's the point. And not allow the flesh to have its way, no matter how painful that is. Did anybody think that putting to death the flesh is not painful? It is. It is. It doesn't want to die. Yeah, it is. It can be quite painful to deny the flesh and put it to death and not let it have its way. But avoiding the pain is not the point. It's doing the right thing despite the pain. And I don't want to be too harsh, and yet I feel like a lot of Americans, may I say this, a lot of Americans value comfort a lot. And so if anything is uncomfortable, they don't want it, even if it's the right thing to do. I recently have seen how comfort is extremely valued, not only in American culture, but in the church. Comfort, what did I say in here? Comfort is their king. Comfort is their king. I said the flesh likes to be fed and coddled because comfort is their king, and they do not want to deny themselves, particularly in those tender places. Yeah, comfort. Such as, since this little 3-part series is on truth, speaking the truth when it is uncomfortable to do so. Now, I don't mean always to come in with truth like a wrecking ball and use it in some kind of unloving way, but can we speak the truth at all? And at all? Because sometimes it produces discomfort even when said and spoken very tenderly, gently, and softly. It still produces some amount of discomfort. I have experienced this personally and within the church, where I do not want to live in deception and in like non-communication and dysfunction. So because I will not and I cannot, because that is my choice, that I cannot and I will not, to certain extents, endure some deception and weirdness and miscommunication or non-communication. And did I already say dysfunction? Because I don't like that. There are certain times where I want the truth to be spoken, even in a non-churchy atmosphere, like on a personal level with people. And because I already know how people react a lot of the time, I have learned to try very hard to say it nicely. To say it nicely while still speaking the truth. I have learned to try to say, and it's not easy for me, to speak the truth very as sugar-coated as I can speak the truth without compromising the truth. Like, I try to say it in the nice tone of voice, very ease into it, don't like thrust it upon them. I go in, I try very gently, okay? Because I know how people are, how people can react. And it's still, at times, it still doesn't make any difference. I could have yelled it at them and it's still going to be received the same way. It's sometimes not, I lost my train of thought, to be honest here, but it's sometimes not even the way you say it, it's the truth itself that can be uncomfortable and even offensive. It's the truth itself, it's not your delivery, it's not even you. It's the truth that is reacted to and can at times make someone uncomfortable, and that is not my intention in speaking the truth. That is just a possible side effect of truth. And because comfort is so valued, I have seen it valued above truth. And that's unfortunate, especially in the church, well, especially anywhere. But even in the environment of the church, where youth would think that truth is valued, I have seen where comfort is valued above the truth. And I guess that's a choice. That's a choice. That's a choice. Do you value comfort more or truth more? As I said, you can say it so gently, but sometimes it doesn't matter, because it's up to the person whether they receive it or not. So on one hand, I guess some consolation in that is that it's not always you. It can be you that is rejected and dismissed. I mean, you can deliver it poorly. You can deliver truth poorly to someone, but I find that oftentimes it's the truth itself that is being rejected and dismissed. It's not really you. So there's some comfort in that, I guess. I mean, it's not you. It's the truth that doesn't have as much value as other things to some people. And that's a choice. It is a choice what you choose to value. I could go on, but I don't need to go on. I'm also learning the value of when to speak and when not to speak. Sometimes when you're trying to obey the Lord in your life in general, I have noticed sometimes, at least I don't know about you, can be a little more eager to look for the Lord's lead in when to speak. Like, you might be going about your day and you're a little more eager to hear any kind of lead from the Lord to speak something to someone. Like, did you want me to say that, Lord? Is there something you want me to say? Is there something you want me to say? You're on alert on that side of things. Do you want me to speak? Do you want me to say something, Lord? But there can be just as much obedience in speaking something the Lord wants you to speak as being quiet when He wants you to be quiet. You don't get more credits from your obedience in speaking than if you obey in being quiet. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's the same. The value of obedience in being quiet, to obey the Lord and just being quiet, the value in that obedience is the same as if you spoke up. So maybe at times for me, instead of always being on alert to see if the Lord wants me to say something, I also want to pay as much attention as to when the Lord may want me to just be quiet. I hope that made sense. Because for me, it can tend to feel as if you're doing more when you're speaking up for the Lord, saying something that He wants you to say. It feels like you're doing more because you're doing something, an action of some kind, than if you're just quiet. Because when you're quiet, it can feel like you're doing nothing. But still, if that is what God wants you to do, and you obey that, that's just as much obedience as if you were to speak. I don't know how I got on that topic. But anyway, that's it, basically. I don't need to keep talking. It's a very nice day today. I managed to film outside because it's so warm, unseasonably warm in May. It feels more like I don't know what it feels like. July. It's unseasonably warm. So I'm enjoying this. Until next time, I hope you are doing well. I hope you are learning to know the Lord better and better and love Him more and more and become more and more like Him. Following after the Lord, I think, is not as complicated as it seems. I think man can often complicate it, but I don't think it's that complicated. Simply loving the Lord above all, loving others, following Him, having a relationship with Him. It's not that complicated. Getting to know Him, as I said, having a relationship with Him. Anyways, Lord willing, I will see you in the next one.